Okay. So really lovely to join you this afternoon, and thank you very much for inviting us. So delighted to be presenting with Nikki today. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what the RHS offers schools in terms of our support for school gardening in general, and obviously with a focus on food in particular. And then hand over to Nikki, who's actually going to talk about what happens in the schools that she works with. Nikki is an environmental science teacher, and the schools that she works at have taken part in the School Gardening Awards, which I'm going to tell you a little bit about in a little while. So the first thing we're going to, oh, it's not moving on, sorry. Oh, there we are. The first thing I was just going to make the point about is about food being a really great opportunity to tune pupils and students into nature, into growing and into gardening. And I think this quote kind of says it all, and we see it quite a lot in our research with schools, saying that what's the point of growing and what's the point of plants if you can't do something with them? So growing food provides a great opportunity to really tune children into plants, how they work, what they are, and obviously kind of having a product at the end to aim for. So in the case of the quote, growing apples, and in the case of the picture, growing raspberries. And that's a kind of general point I would make. If you're growing food in schools or thinking about it, to really remember the food that grows year on year and produces year on year, and not just limit yourselves to things that have to be sown as seeds, deal with all the challenges about watering in the school holidays, and kind of make things a little bit harder than they need to be. It's a great way of showing children and young people seasonality, and having something like trees or raspberry canes, fruit bushes, strawberries that will just do the work for you is a wonderful thing. So moving on to the support we provide for schools, we don't, as the RHS, we don't go out and work with schools directly. It's online support provided nationally, and everything we do is free for schools. So I've put free at the top of all these slides, but it's a kind of a concept or an approach that's really dear to our hearts. The income from the kind of business activities of running flower shows and things gets diverted into the charitable purpose of the RHS, which is to encourage growing and gardening for everyone, everywhere. And so we have these free resources. You can kind of dial up by term, by half term, look at the sort of food you're interested in growing, and it will give you easy how-tos. The resources focus on just getting started, so they're kind of divided up if you're just at the beginning as a school. Look at growing for wellbeing, particularly growing for the planet, plants across the curriculum, and things that you might do in a school gardening club. But there's a heavy focus on food as part of all of that. We also provide free e-learning for teachers. These are online courses that you can access anytime. It takes about 45 minutes or an hour to complete each one, so it's kind of bite-sized learning. Again, similar focus so that you can access it at whichever point will be helpful to you. And all of these include a food focus as part of them. So kind of getting started, really looking at the research-backed evidence to why garden, why grow, the difference it's going to make for your school. And then basic horticulture skills, including growing from seed and with the seasons, and then planet-friendly gardening, which includes kind of propagating. So again, moving away from this kind of keeping on buying new plants or new seeds to grow into a more sustainable practice of growing and food growing. We have a half-termly newsletter, really to support you in everything you're doing. And the School Gardening Awards that I mentioned earlier are just outlined below. You can apply to be granted an award at any point during the school year. There are no cut-off dates. There are no limits to the amount of awards your school can be given. And the vouchers and the seeds that we send support you to attain the next award up. So I'm not going to go through them in detail now, but you can kind of see the range of different things that they cover. And it would be possible pretty much to do the whole thing focused on food if you wanted to. They're not plant specific. You can use whatever you're growing to achieve the awards, and you just have to submit 100 words against each of those 3 different criteria to achieve the level. So just to give you an idea of the kind of the money that's involved, For level 1, you get sent seeds, a certificate, digital logo, and a book to support you with level 2 about well-being, gardening and growing. For level 2, you get the same kind of package, but a £50 voucher, which you also get at level 3. At level 4, it's a £100 voucher, and level 5, it's a £150 voucher. And they're National Garden gift vouchers that can be used at many, many garden centres across the country. We make about 1,500 of those awards each year. So it's a kind of national scheme, and we've got lots of Suffolk schools who are involved already. We'd love to welcome more of you to join that. I'm going to hand over to Nikki now to talk about what's happening on the ground.
Hello there. My name's Nikki Sharp, and I am an environmental science teacher at our 3 schools that belong to the Chorus Federation. One of the schools is in Suffolk and 2 are in Essex. I've been doing this job for about 3 years now, and I'm very fortunate that I go into each school every week or every other week, and I take a small group of children and we garden all year round. It's only on days that are absolutely torrential that we go inside. So in our environmental science lessons, I teach science, PSHE, RE, art and well-being, and we grow lots of plants. Oh, could you move the slide on, please, Jane? Thank you. So St Andrews began environmental science in September, so they're very new to it. And these are the things we've done so far. We have sown from seed coriander, dill, fennel and pea shoots. That's a little picture of the pots we've sown at the bottom there, and they all grew rather quickly so the children could take them home and eat them. We've got an old raised bed that I've taken over, and we've sown broad beans and garlic in there, and as you can see, even in the snow they're growing. We harvested some beetroot that a previous teacher had planted, and I took it home and I pickled it, and I took it back to school and the children all tasted it. They didn't all like it, but it was good to do, and some of them did really enjoy it. I took an old planter that I had at home in the end picture there, and we planted it up with herbs that I'd grown from seed, and also I'd propagated from plants that I have at home. So it's all kind of free stuff, and it's showing the children how the process of plants work. We have little environmental science books that we record our work in as well when we can. And I've also got a big pot of strawberries. So it's quite new at St Andrews. We've only just started the process. I'm very grateful to the RHS because we are currently at level 3 at St Andrews of their schools programme, and the vouchers and seeds and books that they send are so helpful to what we do, because obviously there's not a lot of money in schools at the moment, and this really helps us. So if we could have the next slide, please, Jane. Okay, so my original school was St Giles, and we began there in 2023, and then I took on Wethersfield in 2024. And because of there not being much money available, I've just used what I can to grow things. So there was a big old sandpit at one of the schools, which we used all the wood and we made it into raised beds, and then we got compost and we planted and grew from seed things like tomatoes, carrots, pumpkins, beetroot, lettuce, spinach, and all the things you can see there. And then when the weather gets better and all the food has grown, we harvest it, and those are pictures of the things we cooked and ate. So we cooked the potatoes, and we put the herbs that we'd grown on them, and we made a courgette salad, which actually went down really well with the children. I've made dips with garlic and onion and the herbs that we've grown, and we've made carrots, sticks that the children have eaten. So anything that we've successfully grown, we've eaten, and it's really good because the children are encouraged to try it more when they've grown it. It's not always successful because not all children are open to trying, but I always say to them, give it a go, and if you don't like it, it doesn't matter, just keep trying it a few times, and you never know, you might discover something new that you love. So that's what we do. And oh yes, in school dinners, we were so successful with some of our crops, our courgettes and potatoes and onions and lettuces particularly, that our school cooks were able to use some of the produce in the kitchen, which helped, you know, with their budgets. And it's just really nice to share the things that we have grown. And the children really enjoy it. They get great pleasure from digging, and their favourite thing to do is pull roots out of the soil. And that, you know, it's just a really healthy, brilliant thing to do. And just on the composting, to link back to what we've heard so far, we started compost bins off at all schools, and the children have really enjoyed learning about how to compost. And we put all of our waste from the garden into our compost bins, so that we can then put it onto our raised beds once it's ready. So that's been a great thing to do too. So I think that's all from me.
Yes, so really, what we want to say is grow as much as you can, start small and then grow some more. But it's a really great way of kind of showing children the energy and effort that goes into growing our food, a chance to kind of reduce some food miles, and really encourage them to understand and connect with actually what food is. I know that sounds a bit silly, but for lots of children, they might not really have had an opportunity to kind of see food connected to the plant it's grown on, and to really know that they can take action in terms of kind of doing something to support the environment, i.e. kind of growing their own food, eating seasonably, and actually kind of really not overeating and taking the food that we have for granted, if you like, just to kind of connect back to some of the earlier messages as well too. So that's our kind of contact details, but please do sign up for the newsletter, and if you have any questions or queries at all, we'd be really happy to answer them either now or by email.
Great. Thank you, Jane and Nikki. That was really cool to hear about everything you've been up to and the support that the RHS offers. And we've just got a question in the chat from Katie, who says, do any schools use greenhouses or polytunnels, and do they have watering systems over the holidays?
They, I can talk generally and then hand over to you, Nikki, for if you've got direct experience. But yes, quite a few schools who've got the space do use sort of greenhouses and polytunnels, and tell us about those as part of the awards. The holiday watering is always a challenge. We've got some kind of advice that I can send on to Jess to kind of circulate with the minutes of the meeting and the notes. But we're not familiar with schools that have kind of automated watering systems. It's normally more like local volunteers that kindly come in and do it, or sending some of the plants home for the holidays. But over to you, Nikki, because have other ideas.
Oh yeah, no, I was just going to say we don't have a greenhouse or a polytunnel. We just grow things outside, and I am the watering in the holidays or the kindly caretakers that help me out.
Great, thank you.